Good afternoon, and I'd like to welcome everyone. Hello. Hello. We are a go. We're a go. Yes, we are. Good afternoon, and I'd like to welcome everyone to today's Akron Rotary Club meeting. Today is Tuesday, and it is June. Today is Tuesday. It's June the 14th, and so we are officially begun for today's meeting. And I'd like to welcome everyone who is online via Zoom and everyone who is present here today at Bounce Innovation Hub. We have a nice meeting planned. We just ended up with a board meeting, and it's going to be a good day in spite of all of that humidity out there. But at this time, I would like to invite Jerry up to lead us in the invocation.
Good morning. Today is Flag Day. We honor today the flag of our country, the flag of our state, the Rotary flag, and for me, very important, the flag of Ukraine, which I have here in an artist rendition, and also the LGBTQ flag, which I am wearing. I'm going to put this down just because it's, can you still hear me with the mic down? Okay. Okay. Flag Day is celebrated in the United States on June 14th. It commemorates the adoption of the flag of the United States on June 14th, 1777, by resolution of the Second Continental Congress. The flag resolution, passed on June 14th, 1777, stated, resolved that the flag of the 13 United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. And I love the fact of constellation. And then for our invocation, we could bow our heads. This is from St. Mary's Episcopal Church, LGBTQ Pride Liturgy. Holy One, we believe that your love will find a way to heal our wounded world and that suffering and poverty will end. For we believe in your persistent love. God, help us be your love in the world. Send us to those who suffer. We believe that you have made us who we are in your image, a beautiful community of race and culture and sexual identity. You declared us good. We celebrate this diversity, for we believe in your creative imagination. And God, help us make it safe for all to live with integrity, for barriers to tumble down, and for all to live in peace. Send us out to change the world. Amen.
Thank you, Jerry. And with that, if you would just join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, and you may be seated. I really did like that phrase about a constellation and a coming together, as it were. And with this being Gay Pride Month, I believe, also, we have to recognize that our world, as Jerry offered up the prayer, we have a lot of different divisions that we have between people groups, and those areas of separation need to be filled with love. And that takes work. And it's one of the reasons I appreciate our Rotary Club with a continual commitment to filling the gaps that we see in our city and in the surrounding area with loving answers. So at this time, I'd like to call Mr. Connor Jarvis as our greeter to share with us who our guests are today.
Steve, could you ask Brian Kosarko to please fix the camera? Thank you.
Mr. Bowie, Mr. President. So at least with us in person, we have at least one guest here, Sarah Morrison, guest of Steve Bowie's. Sarah, do you want to, or Steve, do you want to introduce Sarah? Or Sarah, do you want to say just a few words hello to the folks here and online? Thank you for being with us.
My name is Sarah Morrison. I'm from Stowe, and I've been looking to join Rotary for a while, and my schedule has finally changed to allow me to come to the meeting. So I'm super excited to be here. I'm a realtor, and among other things that I do, but thanks for letting me be a guest today.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Welcome. And then our speaker, of course, and I'll allow those introductions to be made here down the line, Mr. Mark Willis. And am I missing anyone online, or there's some guests with us, or anyone else in person that's not on the sign-in sheet? Cheryl, Terry, anyone online? Nope. All right, that is it. So thank you very much, Mr. Booth.
Hey, thank you, Connor. With this being Sarah's first visit, she's already moving in the spirit of a Rotarian. Her son has been involved at Stowe High School with the Interact Club, which has been in existence, I think, for almost 10 years, if not longer. And they have a really life-filled club that does a lot of public service. And so it kind of rolled upwards to you. And so we're delighted to have you here. So at this time, I want to see, do we have any Rotary ambassadors over this last week? Anybody online that's a Rotary ambassador?
I was, yep.
Miss Cheryl.
Well, Stu was there too on Sunday. On Sunday, we attended the Port Summit quarter auction. And unfortunately, someone there tested positive that night. So I am staying away from people for a few days just to make sure that I'm okay. But it was fun. I don't know if any of you have ever attended a quarter auction, but it was only a few hours. You bought your own food. They raised about $6,000. And it was a really fun event. Stu, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, it was a fun event, and it was $6,000. As far as being an ambassador, I want to mention that I was in Houston, Texas, and unfortunately came back with the COVID. So I am kind of quarantined for a while, but I did want to make an announcement, if I can, about the End Polio Now baseball game on July 13th with the Guardians. We're going to have a great night. We're in the Terrace Club. I need you to sign up. You have to go online on the district website to rotarydistrict6630.org. We need to have everybody come to the game and raise some money for polio. And there's also a raffle to win a $1,000 Paul Harris Fellow plus a first throw at the first pitch. So I'm happy about that. I'll pay in $5 for the happy dollars to make my announcement. If I get people to sign up, I'll pay more happy dollars.
And it's on our newsletter too. So you can click on the newsletter to sign up.
Yeah, it's in the our website and the district website and the newsletter and everywhere. So, and I'll have raffle tickets at the next meeting. I didn't give any to Steve, but I will get them there somehow for next week.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Stu, can you tell us what is the cost for a ticket on that evening?
It depends whether you're in the upper level or lower level. The lower box seats at the Terrace Club is $75. The upper box is $65, or you can just buy a ticket for $35 or $25 to come to the game. Most funds be in the Terrace Club and eat and be part of the raffle and everything else. So
excellent, excellent. And before I let you go, because you were down in Houston for the international conference, and Julie was down there and Linda was down there, can you give us a brief synopsis, let's say a 90-second synopsis of what took place down there and some of the highlights? I know that also Claudine was down there and a representative of the international outgoing service to Ukraine, but can you kind of just give us the highlights?
Well, there's a lot to cover, but some of the focus of the people who spoke was for trafficking, empowering women and girls, and ending polio and Ukraine. The Rotary raised $5 million, I think it was, to send to Ukraine to help them with their refugees. And there was a lady there from Ukraine to talk to, works in the hospital at Kiev, and her husband's on the front line, and she came to Rotary to thank us for sending all the money to help them. It was interesting. There were about 11,000 people there. 5,000 were international and 6,000 were from the United States, a small group compared to some because of the COVID apparently. And obviously about 5 people from the Cleveland group that were down there, at least that I know of, came down with COVID. So that's the bad news. But it was a great experience. You don't really get the international feel of Rotary till you go to an international convention.
Well, thank you, and Godspeed on your health. Take time to recover, and then we'll all get back at it. Thank you.
Stu, I wasn't going to call you out as the person who came to the event and then tested positive on Sunday, but fortunately, most of us are negative at this point. So, Stu, best of health to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we happen to have, Cheryl, because you can see folks online, do we happen to have any other Rotary ambassadors over this last week?
No hands are up, sir. All
right, well, thank you. Before we go to Happy Dollars, I do want to make an important announcement. We just finished, as I mentioned, a board meeting about 20 minutes ago, and we were talking about this coming year where Linda Farkas will be representing us as club president. And we were talking about our annual dues, and come to find out that some of the emails, communications that have been sent out to members have actually not been getting to members. And so I just wanted to say, if you're one of those folks that did not receive your annual bill for membership, please know that your dues are actually due by the end of the month. And so this is just a friendly reminder as we look to sail into this next year and all the good work that we have lying before us. So are there any other announcements? And then we'll go into Happy Dollars. Susan, come grab a microphone if you can, and then you can fill us in.
The camera's off again, if you could make a note.
We welcomed our exchange student Manny, who's going to South Korea to the cookout on Thursday night. And so please look forward to the opportunity to meet some of our exchange students who are going out. This year is a big one for us because we have Manny Nunez, who's going to South Korea. We have Samantha Kramer, who's going to Brazil. And in the summer exchange, we have Serena Joe, who's going to Belgium. And then her Belgian sister will come here. And we're really, really, really excited about this. And especially 2 of them are from Stowe High School and Stowe Monroe Falls High School, and Serena is from Revere. So we're happy. Look forward, and we'll bring them to lunch, and we'll come back again to the cookout.
Thank you, Susan.
Any other announcements? Any hands up out there, Miss Cheryl, because I can't see. Okay. All right, I just wanted to make a comment about the exchange students, and it's nice to have that reopened again after a couple-year hiatus due to COVID. But how exciting that one of our own, Jacinto Nunez, that his son is participating in the program, and as Susan mentioned, going to South Korea. So we're excited about supporting him and supporting that good work that you've been doing for so many different years, Susan. So thank you with your investment in our youth. And once again, we hear Stowe Monroe Falls High School mentioned, and that's a real happening school. So congratulations to them. All right, let's move into happy dollars. Is anybody happy today? Oh, Mr. John Regina, why would you be happy?
I have 20 happy dollars for our Mary and I's new grandson, Dominic Raphael Martina. He was born just before midnight on May 31st. And Mary and I are very, very excited. We went down to Nashville and saw him last weekend, or the other weekend, and he's just 6 pounds, 15 ounces, I believe, and 19 inches long, what have you. He's doing great. And he's already got his favorite sports team, so it's pretty cool. So I want to pass that along. You know, just a couple of things. You know, I've been kind of out of touch, you know, due to COVID, what have you, been busy, whatever. Everyone's got an excuse, you know, what have you. So I don't want to go into that. But, you know, one thing I noticed, why, you know, I kept in touch. You know, I emailed, I talked to Steve, what have you. I am so proud of Rotary organization as a whole, that they are supporting Ukraine. They are giving dollars for it. They're there for them. They're helping every way. I couldn't be more proud of that. And, you know, that just makes my heart very warm. It's just awesome. And Stu is very right. You have to go to an international conference one time. It is out of this world. It is amazing. The speakers are crazy, amazing. So thanks for giving me some time.
Thank you, John, and congratulations. Anyone else happy? All right, all.
Thanks. I have 2 happy dollars. Tomorrow, I guess, Wednesday, the 15th, we will be doing our volunteer project for the Akron Food Bank, 4:30 to 6:30. It's not too late if you're interested. We do need to have you sign that online application as all be a volunteer if you have not done that in the last 2 years. But we're looking forward to that. And then after the volunteer project, 6:30, we're gonna probably head out, I assume probably to Lot 15 again and have some dinner and drinks. So if you want to join us for that, do that as well. So just happy for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I hear that ghost pepper mac there is to die for, literally, if you can't handle it, right? Doug, who else? Mella, all right.
Hi, everybody. I have 2 happy dollars. So last week we completed week 1, successful week 1 of 9 weeks of summer camp. So we're in week 2. So I would invite any of our Rotarians, come out, visit camp, bring somebody that you think might be interested in camp. You know, please bring them to camp. It's a great opportunity for them to see camp in action. And then also our Thursday night cookouts, please come out. Last week, Tamara and Joe Mora came out and served. Susan Coble Hall came, and Jacinto and Manny Nunes. So it was nice to have some Rotary representation there.
Thank you so much, Mella. Yep. Yes.
The question is, if we have relatives coming in from out of town, could we call ahead and have them take up the camp?
Yes, his question was, if you have relatives that are coming in from out of town, yes, please call ahead. I'll be happy to help you and get them into work.
Thank you, Mel. No, anyone else happy in here? All right.
Anybody online?
Online, Cheryl, Terry. Cheryl, you look like you're happy.
I'm happy because I really want to thank Brian Casarco today for setting up and being there to make sure everything technically is in tune for me to run the Zoom meeting. So couldn't have done it without you, Brian. Thank you. I'm in for $5, Mella.
Thank you, Cheryl, and yes, thank you, Brian. Anyone else out there in the digital world? Cheryl, Terry, no? All right, back to you, Steve.
Yes, we do. Rob McGregor.
Okay. Oh, okay, Dr. Rob.
I have 5 happy dollars, and especially call out Mella, who's been helping me arrange some interesting things for our presidential send-off. So I put a plug for President Bowie and his continued recovery from his elbow infection, and hope that you can all join us at the end of July. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Rob.
And I have 3 happy dollars. Hey, just to start, thank you, Rob, and I appreciate even your encouragement in me sorting out my pathway here to wholeness and healings. Thank you.
And we have one more online too, Steve, when you're
You have
done.
someone online?
Yeah, Jack just raised his hand.
All right, we'll go to Jack first before we go to me. Go ahead, Jack.
I've got $5 happy for being here with John, and a comment to pass on from John that Rob has the same type of hairdo that John does.
It's good company to be in.
Appreciate that. So my 3 happy dollars are, number one, a hearty congratulations to John and to Mary Margita in entering the Grandparents Club, and that good Polish name of Dominic Raphael. No way. Anyhow, but that's fantastic. Second happy dollar is for Jacinto's son, Manny, in taking the bold step and going internationally and going to live in South Korea for a season. And boy, oh boy, is his life about to change in all the right ways. So congratulations to him. And the last one is to concur with the comment that Cheryl had made, and this is for Brian Casarco. And thank you for all the work that you do behind the scenes. And when we find ourselves in a little bit of a glitch, that you are our go-to guy and you know how to get the problem solved. So thank you. So you have some money, Susan? I do. All right.
Yes, this is to challenge everyone to come out for the Dragon Boat Festival. What is it? Dragons on the Lake. It's July 23rd, Saturday, July 23rd. Mark it down. We need your participation. And hopefully I'll be able to paddle with our team.
What time does it start?
Well, for those of us who's running it probably about 6:30, but I think the rest of you can come about 8:30 or 9. I'll give you that opportunity or information later.
All right, thank you so much. All right, I think that's it. And so I'd like to invite today's guest speaker, Mark Willis, up. And as he's coming, I'm going to share a little bit about his bio. And Mark is an attorney actively engaged in the practice of law with his emphasis in the area of tort and insurance law. He's going to be addressing what people need to know about Ohio's insurance law and the interaction of liability coverage, uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage, medical payment coverage, and health coverage. Mark has shared that too often I have conversations with clients that find their lives upside down due to serious injuries, large medical bills, and lost income from an accident, to find out there's not enough coverage on the wrong type of insurance coverage or the wrong type of insurance coverage to cover their needs. At that point, it's simply too late to do anything about the various coverages in place. Better that we understand how to protect ourselves before an event like this happens instead of afterwards. Mark was admitted to the Ohio Bar in May of 1987 and the West Virginia Bar in November of 1987. He's licensed to practice before the state courts of Ohio and West Virginia, and also admitted to practice before the federal courts of the Northern District of Ohio, the Southern District of West Virginia, the United States Courts of Appeal in the 4th and the 6th Circuits. So Mark, it's our pleasure to have you, and welcome.
Thank you. Okay. So really, today is about making you a better consumer of something you probably already have, which is auto insurance. Everybody drive here today? Right, so you have auto insurance. So this is some audience participation. Throw some insurance company names at me. Let's hear them. State Farm, Geico, Westfield, Progressive, State Auto, USA.
Could we please ask that we change the camera position so we can see our speaker, please?
Is this better if I stand? You want me to stand in front of the camera? All right. Cincinnati, that's about 8. 9.
State Farm.
Safeco, 10. We had State Farm. Allstate, 11. Motorist, 12. Hartford, 13. Kind of running out, aren't we? So what do all those insurance companies have in common? They have in common that they're all licensed by the Ohio Department of Insurance, along with about almost 150 other insurance companies. You named probably, with the ones you named, you hit, all the TV advertisers, and that probably covers about 85, 90% of, they have that much of the market. But they are all licensed by the Department of Insurance. And so what does that mean? Just like you think about with the bank, if you have money in the bank and the bank goes belly up, the FDIC, the federal government steps in and takes care of your deposit. If they're licensed by the state of Ohio for insurance coverage and they go belly up, the state of Ohio steps in, takes care of your coverage. So on that front, all the insurance companies that are licensed by the state of Ohio are on equal footing. The question is, though, what type of coverage are you getting from those various carriers? You can pay the same amount. You might get this for coverage. Okay. Or you could get this for coverage. And the time to find out about whether you have the coverages you need should be now, not when you need it. No one drives around thinking about, oh, I might get in a collision today, I might need some good coverage. So the phrase is often thrown out there, I have full coverage. And I wince when I hear that, because what is full coverage? It's full coverage if it covers everything that you need it to cover. But if it doesn't, then you have a problem. So in a short statement, the best thing to say is, if you're not insuring yourself for what you think you're worth, don't expect somebody else to. Okay, in Ohio, the state minimum limit is $25,000 in coverage. That's makes you legal. Okay, when you go and get your license, you've all had this experience. You get a piece of paper that say you need to sign, and you sign it saying you have insurance. No one ever checks on that. So the state estimates that 15% of drivers out there do not have insurance. That's the state's estimate. I think it might be higher, but there's at least that. And beyond that, you have a whole host of people who are driving around with the state minimum limits of $25,000 in coverage. So you're in a collision, you get hauled off to the emergency room, you're in the hospital for a couple of days. Do you think your bill's over $25,000? Yeah, quickly. So is 25 enough? Probably not. And that's where it becomes important to make sure you have enough coverage to cover you and not rely on somebody else's coverage. And that gets into the world of uninsured or underinsured coverage. And when you look at your auto policy, it'll list things like bodily injury and liability coverage and property damage coverage. But somewhere on there, if you buy it, you should have what's called U coverage or uninsured, underinsured coverage. It used to be in Ohio, it was mandatory. The insurance companies, the state required the insurance companies to give you that coverage. You had to go through hoops and hurdles to get out of that coverage. Well, that's not the law anymore. The law anymore is you don't have to have it. You have to buy it. And so what you get is some people like, well, I don't really know what this coverage is down here, this U coverage, so I'm not going to pay for that. Well, it's the most important coverage on your policy because it's the only coverage that covers you. Everything else you're buying covers a car, somebody else, but not you. And I think most people don't drive around worrying about am I going to run somebody over today? They're more inclined to be worried about, is somebody going to hit me? So the U coverage becomes very important. That covers you. And that comes back to look at what that coverage is, because that's the coverage that's covering you if you're hurt. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to arise out of you being in a car. It's uninsured motorist coverage. It covers you if you're hurt by an uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist. So if you're a pedestrian, if you're on a bicycle, if you're walking down the street, as we sit here today, a car comes crashing through the wall and runs into us. Your coverage covers you. It follows you. So it's an important coverage. So where do the insurance companies skimp out on coverage? Common places that we see them skimp out on is they will create what's called an interfamily immunity. And an interfamily immunity is you're driving your vehicle, you got the spouse and kids in the car, and you wreck the car and you badly injure everybody else in the car. And they say, well, you're all related by blood or marriage, so we're not covering anybody. Because people go out and commit fraud with their family and do that type of thing. Well, who do you drive around with in the car more than anybody? Your family. So that becomes an important question for your agent or your company. Is there an exclusion for my family in this thing? Now, the hitchhiker you picked up 2 miles down the road, they're covered. You're not. That's not right. But that is a common exception we'll see in a policy. If you have employees in the car, that's another exception that insurance companies like to use. Again, somebody you might have in the car often, or coworkers. Another opportunity for them to create an exception. So you have to look at these exceptions. I actually have, and I'll hand out some questions that I suggest. I got a list of them. You look at these, think about asking these of your insurance agent. Shoot them to your agent in an email, ask them to answer them. Your agent will probably shoot them on to underwriting at the company, and you'll get an answer back in writing. And I suggest you hold on to that answer because policies change. Now, Connor and I, we created a contract back there. He's going to paint my house for $500. When he comes to collect the $500 after he's done painting, and I say, oh yeah, but you got to paint the barn too. He's like, well, that's not part of our deal. It wasn't part of our contract. That's not how typical contracts go. But in the insurance world, every time you pay a premium, you get a renewal, they're changing that contract on you, or they can be changing that contract on you, and you'll see endorsements. So that's why I suggest you shoot these questions to your agent in writing. And every time that they keep throwing something new at you, you keep throwing those questions back at them to make sure that they haven't changed the policy. So I was talking to an insurance agent the other day, and he was talking about their policies have changed. They used to not have an intrafamily immunity in it, but now they do. And, you know, so there's people out there that are going to get stuck by that and they don't know it. We having microphone issues?
Do a mic swap just to see if that helps. We can all hear you, obviously. Thank you.
Is that better? Okay. Let's say you have a teenager and teenager says, hey, guess what? Mom, Dad, I got a job. I'm going to be delivering pizzas. And you think, great, I'm going to go earn some money. You know, they can buy their own sneakers now, right? Well, they're driving around in a car and they cause a collision. The company says, well, yeah, but they're delivering pizzas. They're getting paid for this work. Will not covering it. I mean, you have to know the exceptions or the exclusions that are out there in these policies. Some companies will have agents list drivers, young drivers, you know, the new drivers, the 16, 17, 18-year-old drivers, as a driver as opposed to an insured on the policy. Well, when you read the policy, a driver is a second-class citizen under that policy and don't have the same coverage that an insured does. We've actually litigated that issue with some companies, and you come to find out there's no cost difference between being named as an insured on the policy or being named as a driver. But it is an opportunity for the insurance company to make them a lower class citizen under the policy. So I suggest when you talk to the company, make sure that everybody in your house that is driving be listed as an insured. If you have foster children, you know, are they going to be covered? It's a question, because a lot of policies will talk about a relation by blood or marriage. Foster child's not related by blood or marriage. So it's another potential issue. If you ride with coworkers a lot, you know, that's something that you need to address with the agent. Some policies, if you're injured, if you drive a lot for work and you're injured while you're on the job, you're eligible for Ohio's workers' compensation. And some policies will exclude you out of coverage. Well, workers' comp doesn't cover everything that your policy should be covering. So you need to make sure that, you know, you're not going to get excluded out because you're on the job. If you own a motorcycle, driving a motorcycle, coverages can change. A lot of companies do not want to provide medical payment coverage for if you're on a motorcycle. Or let's move on beyond motorcycle and talk about other recreational vehicles. So if you're on a recreational vehicle, a lot of those coverages or those vehicles are not covered under your auto policy. They may get covered under your homeowners, or they may get covered under a separate policy if you make sure your company knows about it or you pay for that. But they won't get covered under your auto policy, even if you're riding it on the road. We were talking about medical payment coverage. So under your policy, there's usually a section will say med pay or medical payment coverage. And that is coverage there that is designed to help pay medical bills that you incur as a result of injuries, or it usually extends beyond you to people in your car. Companies will water that down with saying, we will only pay bills that aren't covered by health insurance, or only pay excess amounts, or put limits on, time limits on it. Again, you need to be aware of what those coverages and their limitations are. Yes, sir.
I ride a bicycle on these dangerous streets, and I have a rear view mirror. I'm always afraid I'm going to get hit. Am I covered with my insurance policy for my car when I'm riding my bicycle?
You should be. That's a good question to ask your agent, because backing up in time, because I've been doing this for a few years, but like I said, there used to be Ohio required for all insurers to provide uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. And then they took that requirement away. So then it became up to you to buy the coverage, and the companies can basically sell whatever they want. So it should cover you under typical uninsured, underinsured, but you should ask your agent to verify that. Yes, sir.
You would help everyone online if you could speak the question that he raised to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the gentleman asked, he says he rides a bike on the street and he's worried about getting hit by a car while he's riding his bicycle, and he wondered if he would have coverage. And that was what that answer was about. Basically, uninsured motorist coverage or underinsured motorist coverage should cover you in its traditional format, but it's a question you should be asking your agent, because since the state lifted the requirement to provide it, you don't know what you're getting. So if you back up in time, the statutory scheme work for Ohio was, we're going to require people to have insurance. We're not going to background check to see if they do it, but we're going to require people to have insurance. And insurance companies, you're going to be required to provide uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. So if you as a driver are obeying the law, then you've got the coverage, even if the other person doesn't, because you have it on your policy. But the legislature, in their infinite wisdom, decided to remove that requirement. So now insurance companies can do what they want, and you'll get people that compete sometime on price, and they're stripping coverages out of there, one of them being uninsured motorist coverage, because they don't have to provide that. But again, it goes back to, it's really the most important coverage in there. So you need to check that. And I can't emphasize that you should be thinking about the scenarios that you see in your life and ask those questions of your agent in writing in an email and have them respond to it so that you got some documentation that this coverage is truly there. And it can vary from company to company. It can vary between policies in the same company. And it can vary when companies do these amendments like we talked about earlier, when you renew and you get a new endorsement that changes the policy completely. So it's something to be thinking about. But on the medical payment front, that's typically sold, it's a few $1,000s. I mean, you can buy more than that, but most people that have it seem to have like $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, maybe $10,000. And what we see happen in that medical payment coverage world is the providers, like your local hospitals and stuff, they're pretty savvy about that's pretty quick and easy money. So you have, let's say, medical mutual insurance coverage, and they would rather bill your auto insurance company and try to get paid dollar for dollar than submit it to medical mutual and take the discount amount that they've already agreed to with medical mutual. And in the end, when you start getting bills that you need to start paying, co-pays, deductibles, and things like that, you come to find out that your coverage has already been sucked out and gone. So, you know, it's hard to think about that at the front end of a collision when you're dealing with injuries, but you need to make sure you're directing people, if they're going to bill anybody, bill your health insurance. That's why you have it. Your health insurance company should pay those coverages. Your policy with your health insurance doesn't say we cover you unless you're in a collision. Doesn't say that. I've not seen one yet. So they owe you those coverages, and then most of them have some right to get their money back. And that's where it becomes a interesting issue. We talked earlier about a person hits you has $25,000 in coverage and you've got more than that in medical bills. Your health insurance company may have paid those bills and now they're looking for their money back, and they get the opportunity to jump in and take first dollars in every dollar. So the health insurance company can reach in, take that $25,000, and now there's no coverage left for you. So that can be a bad situation, especially if you're out of work for a period of time, got bills coming in beyond your medical bills. So those are all things that are whirling around in this world when you get in this situation. It's not a good place to be, and then find out that you don't have adequate coverage. So when you look at uninsured motorist coverage, it's usually sold in limits equal to whatever your bodily injury coverage is. So if you buy $100,000 in bodily injury coverage, that's your liability coverage. They'll sell you up to $100,000 in uninsured, underinsured coverage. And then you can go beyond that. You can buy what's called an umbrella and get the uninsured, underinsured coverage in your umbrella as well. It's all an important issue to be looking at. And hopefully you put it in a drawer and you never need it. You know, I hope you all never need the services of an attorney like myself that does this type of work. But if you do, it's a bad day. So I'll open it up to questions. People got questions about this issue, happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah, Tom, my question here. All right. Thanks, it was helpful. Is there a general rule of thumb when it comes to establishing an amount of coverage you should carry? Is it predicated on your net worth or how many kids you have and their ages, or how do you kind of create that, establish that benchmark? Is it, can you carry $1 million or $5 million, $500,000?
Well, there is no, I don't know of any benchmark. You know, it depends on what you see in life, what you're worried about, what you can envision. I mean, if we all, and of course, all that costs more money. So you're trying to balance the cost versus the coverage. You know, personally, I carry a couple of $1 million and feel comfortable with that. And it's not so much from the liability end, it's from the flip end of this, is if, you know, someone runs me over and I can't work anymore or whatever. That's my concern. I suggest to people that if you look at your policy and you're trying to save money on the policy, you trim down or you raise up the deductibles on your car, or trim out the rental coverage or tow coverage or those types of coverages, and spend your dollars really on the uninsured, underinsured, because why you may not like paying a $2,500 deductible on your car. At the end of the day, it's not bad compared to, you know, some catastrophic bills that you're paying for injuries to you or your loved one or a family member.
Yeah, I had a question about this uninsured motorist coverage. How much do you recommend there? And if I have an umbrella policy, for instance, I think it's $1 million and it's not expensive if anybody's thinking of it. Would that come into play with the uninsured motorist coverage?
Okay, so let's talk about that a second. So with your regular policy, your uninsured motorist coverage, they typically sell you amounts equal to whatever you're buying under your bodily injury liability. So if you buy a lot of companies use a split limit, 100,000, 300,000. That's $100,000 that they'll pay to any one individual that you injure, and no more than 300,000 to any group of people. And they'll usually sell uninsured motorist coverage in that equal amount. Okay. Now, most companies want you to buy at least 100, 300 before they'll talk to you about an umbrella. So you can't buy a $25,000 policy and buy an umbrella. They're going to want at least 100. A lot of companies want 250, some want 500. But when you get to the umbrella coverage, you have to specify that you want that uninsured motorist coverage in there. They won't put it in there automatically. And they're going to charge you more for that. But when you look at your policy, as you said, umbrella policies are relatively cheap, and uninsured motorist coverage is relatively cheap, because what we're talking about are those, they're not very common. They're rare occurrences, we'll say. You know, so the underwriting risk from the insurance company is not great in those things because they don't happen that often. But when they happen, man, they're trouble.
Steve. So I have a question. You have 10 different individuals come to you. They bring their policies and you take a look at them and you get a good grasp of where any gaps, no pun intended, might be there. In those 10 coming to you, what percentage of those do you think you're going to have to really encourage to take a look at the holes, as it were, in their armor?
I haven't thought about it that way. It's an interesting way to look at it. You know, what I would say to you when you're shopping insurance is, we named off what, a dozen companies that cover 85, 90% of the market. I would look at the other 100 some. The smaller companies that you probably aren't familiar with, never heard of, you know, those companies are more inclined to provide a better product and provide a better service in some respect than the ones that spend all their money advertising. That's just my personal experience in dealing with them. You know, you get with the big companies, they've got a machine running and they drop you into that machine and you're just lost in there. And the smaller companies, it's more of a personal setting and they're more geared, I think, to hearing what your concerns are and what you envision are issues or potential gaps in coverage that you might need covered and addressing those.
I think you just, you kind of indirectly asked my question, which you might not be comfortable or intentionally calling out any of those other carriers, but if there's one that you see out of, you know, a lot of these issues typically arise, or if it just depends on the policy, and then a follow-up to that though, really would be, are you comfortable sharing who you use for your property and casualty coverages in light of what we shared here today?
So I've got policies with different companies. I have Hartford, I have Chubb, and I have Farmers. And Farmers basically because I've had a long-standing relationship. My policy is grandfathered in from a long time ago, but the policies that Farmers is selling now, I wouldn't have it because of some of the intra-family issues that they are now using as exclusions. But typically I find, you know, when we get cases in or look at clients' issues, it's the small companies that typically, best of the small companies from out of state, and they call and you talk to them, they're like, Akron, Ohio, where is that? You know, and you're going, okay, this person's got no clue, and they're like, we'll spend money just to get this out of our hair, right? You know, but no, the small companies in Ohio, there's a bunch of them. You know, there's a lot of these little, you know, county-based places that sell insurance, and they're licensed, they're covered, they're by the state, they're great, and you get people who are more inclined to you know, deal with you on a human level as opposed to punching a bunch of numbers into a computer and telling you, nope, yes, we won't, whatever, and can't talk to anybody. It's all some type of gizmo app and thing that you can't figure out.
Mark, I got to follow to that. So how do you determine there's a difference between an agent and the company? In other words,
correct,
you're an agent that's selling insurance through Allstate or State Farm.
Right.
So there's independents that actually sell their own insurance products?
Well, there's some companies will sell direct, but you're right. Most of it comes through an agent. And a lot of those, the bigger companies have a captive agent, like a State Farm agent is only a State Farm agent. Then you have independent agents that will sell for multiple companies. And they'll also maybe look at your situation and help you place where your coverage would best be among their stable of companies that they represent. But, you know, I suggest these questions you put to your agent because that's your contact. Unless you're dealing directly with the company on those situations where you have a company that's selling direct, then you can communicate directly with the company. But most of the time, if you have an agent, those questions need to go through the agency. And you'd be surprised at the number of times the agents are like, wow, I didn't realize that, you know?
Mark, is that list you got there, you know, obviously proprietary content of yours, or you
No.
able to disseminate that?
Yeah, I'm going to hand this out. I'm going to hand this out to you guys. It's just things to think about and a bunch of questions. You know, what you got to look at what applies in your situation, depending on what you do. If you're retired, you're probably not riding around with coworkers, you know, but if you own a small business and you travel a lot, you may have employees in the car a lot.
Very important content that I know as a club, we, you know, again, want to regularly hear from speakers. So this has been fantastic. And I think value adding for everyone in this room. And I'm sure I can take the liberty of saying so for those online as well. Excuse me. Do we have any more questions in this room or online before I turn it over to Steve? I'm not sure, you know, what time we're at right now. Yeah. Okay. Any questions online? Cheryl, Terry, anyone out there? We're in the chat.
No one's raising their hand. Let's see, there is one chat. It says, the question was, it was something else. We're good. Nothing online.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Mark, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much. And we appreciate your time and sharing that wisdom. And I want to take a second to look at my coverage now.
Mark, can I ask you to do a favor for us for a winner for our daily lottery?
Oh my goodness.
Gonna make one friend, Mark.
Somebody's going to be mad, right? Somebody's going to be happy.
We got one?
Yeah.
All right, take out your tickets. It's 228-290. 290 is the last three. Michael Glass. All right. Michael. Progressive pot. Joker. What do you got? 4 spades. Keep cards for Steve, that's it. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, David. Congratulations, Michael.
And Mark, we really do appreciate what you shared with us today. Boy, it kind of gives each one of us a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a wake-up call to make sure that
the plans that we've made and how we've looked at protecting ourselves, that we take a look at that. We talk to the right people. We get the key questions answered so that we don't find ourselves on the other side, as he had shared in what his bio said, that if you don't have it and you need it, you have a situation arise, there's nothing you could do. The eggs have been scrambled. We can't go back. And so thank you once again, Mark, for raising our awareness and opening our eyes. And thank you all for all those who attended online and all those here today in person. And stay cool and be smart, because I believe tomorrow we're going to be pushing almost 100 degrees. So, all right. God bless you, everybody. Have a great week.